I am seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us. So there's a cell phone number that I don't know. Yeah, Kim?
So Sharon, that is for Lonnie, who was our business from the public. She was unable to Zoom in, so she
Okay.
is calling. So I just wanted to let you know. Hi, Lonnie. Thanks for joining us and
Hi
hang tight for a
there.
second.
Hi. I'm
Wonderful.
so sorry. We were in Yuma, Arizona, and we're on our way back, and I'm actually on my cell phone, and it would not let me connect to your Zoom. I don't know why. I've done it many times, and it just wouldn't let me. So I said, okay, I'm just going to call them.
Must be in a bad
So
way.
I apologize. I apologize in advance. You don't get to see all my beautiful pictures, but hopefully Kim can send them to you.
Wonderful. So, okay. Well, since it's that time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I think there's Debbie. So can you do a roll call, please?
Yeah, we have Commissioner Roller,
Hi, I'm here. Okay.
Van Buren,
Here.
Canopa,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Stone Road,
Here.
Belatico,
Here.
Thompson Graham.
Here.
Okay. All right. I think I can see everyone there. And then for business from the public, it would be Lonnie Hollifield, and for memorial in a park. And Lonnie, would you like to go ahead and tell us about what you're proposing?
I would love to share this with you. So my name is Lonnie Hallfield. I've lived in Albany about 25 years. I was a small business owner. I owned the Tot Shop downtown for 19 years, and I retired in Albany. I had 10 grandchildren. Now, as of April 14th of last year, I have 9. So I lost my beautiful granddaughter at 16 years old on April 14th last year, and I would like to keep her memory alive. So I'd like to propose something called Love Locks. So you can actually hashtag Love Locks on Instagram, and it gives you some kind of idea of what it is if you don't know already. So it's been used in cities and actually all over the world. So it's been used in Paris. There's many cities where there's locators. I have a picture of it. So what is Love Locks? It's a large metal structure that has a grid in the middle of it. So it stands 6 to 8 feet tall. It's made of metal and it has a cement base. So people who have lost someone or for some other memorable event can put a lock on this structure as a symbol with a tag on it of their love for this person. And I would like to, I'd love to have this at Monteith Park or somewhere downtown, because I feel like I could get the carousel on board to sell the locks and maybe they could benefit from that. So, and it could be something as easy as they buy the lock and they just write on the tag, with a marker, or they can bring their own locks. They don't have to buy one. You can get them imprinted. They can be fancy. They cannot be fancy. But as a family, my husband and I, we'd really like your input, and then we could go farther to have it engineered, and I can do the fundraising, because I wouldn't expect you guys to pay for it, except for there's going to be some fallout, some other things. But we would manage the project with the city guidance. So I just would like to propose that to you. And if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay, well, it sounds interesting. I've never heard of it, but I'm just Googling it right now.
Good.
It looks like with the locks, you can put them on any type of structure, or one looks like somebody shaped it into a tree.
Yeah.
Or like just on a fence. What did you have in mind?
And so I'm proposing this big 6 to 8 foot tall heart with a grid in the middle with a big metal frame. and it would be welded, obviously, be on a big cement block. And it would, we'd go to an engineer to make sure it's not going to fall on anybody or any of that. It would be done professionally. If somebody would have to weld it. But, and I've already talked to Bertram's Metals, and he's like, oh, I have grids that would work for that for you. He said, I'll give you anything you need if I can help, So I have a lot of people. I have a chiropractor in Albany that wants to help me. So I think I can get a lot of people on board with this. If it's something that you guys might might think about for me.
Well, it sounds interesting. Yeah, Joyce.
Yeah. So Lonnie, I assume since you're interested in Monteith Park that you've kind of scoped out the area. What area are you thinking about placing this in your dreams?
Oh, that would be a really good question. You know what? Honestly, I don't have any idea, but I don't want it. I want it to be out where people can see it, but I know that also leaves it for vandalism. That's a hard one, but I would hope that people would be respectful, but that just happens, right? No matter what.
So that was my next
I don't know.
question.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and I was going to ask Kim to kind of weigh in on that because I know that vandalism has been an issue, unfortunately, at Monteith. And also, I do know what love locks are, and I know that I guess there's two issues that come up. One is when the area fills up.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's like sometimes are they removed? I don't know. And then the other thing about that is I know that in places where they've been on, like for example, bridges, that they've actually
Yeah.
the weight has actually caused structural compromise. So
Yeah.
that's something that you'd want to make sure because locks are not lightweight. But anyway, Kim,
Exactly.
I turn it over to you to kind of talk about your thoughts.
Sure. And so Lonnie, it's great. We've chatted twice about this. And I totally understand Monteith as it is the beautiful new park down there, lots of activity. I would like to say all positive activity, but we really are seeing a tremendous amount of knuckleheadery. And that is the best way I can put it on a public meeting. So our staff are working super hard to just combat it. Even the things like the legacy garden, which the foundation has done, they ripped all the lights off. So we're having to go back through. So cut part of our playground surface out, cut nets, kicked in benches. And I would hate to see that happen to a memorial.
Yeah.
And so with that said, there's that possibility that that could happen. This is going to sound awful to say, but anywhere in public spaces. But I would be I'd be really nervous about Monteith. So I don't I understand the vision on that, but I want to honor that one would make me nervous. I feel like it would potentially be a target. And so kind of hearing a little bit more, you want it in like a very visible spot. Part of me wonders, and Rick's on here, and we probably won't be able to decide a location, but part of me wonders if the group would look at maybe part of Timberlin or Waverly, as those are also kind of flagshipy parks that have a lot of more eyes on them. As far as like figuring out where, that would have to be something that we would look at. But those are the two that potentially come to mind. I mean, granted, we have knuckleheadery there as well, but
I like that word. That's funny.
It's just a weird world we're out there in. So so we could chat more on our side, on the staff side. We were just wanting to, we oftentimes have folks who are interested in bringing additional elements to our parks. We've had somebody come and talk about a train, a couple other ones, and I always really value what the commission has to say if they're in favor of it, think it might be a good fit, or maybe has another recommendation. So before we really got into the nuts and bolts on this, wanted to kind of get the thought for this group and see if this is something that you thought would be appropriate or a good fit for our parks.
So what's everyone's thoughts?
I just want to make another comment following up Kim. I did think of Timberland, and I think that in terms of like spaces that where um the memorial already is, it's near parking, it's also flat. And it doesn't pair with Lonnie's kind of idea about the carousel, but it is kind of a natural tie-in as well, being near the memorial garden there. So that's a thought. And I think um, I'm casting my support. I think this is a good idea to pursue. And I know that is not the way I'm supposed to say it if we want to vote on it.
Okay. Anyone else, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think similar to what Joyce was saying about the at some point when it gets there's too many locks. I know that like the bridge in Paris that's famous for it, they have to like go through and chop down a bunch of locks fairly often just because it's so popular. So part of me is like, what happens to all of those? Now it probably won't get full quite as quick as Paris Bridge, but I really like the idea. I think that I feel like Albany's becoming bigger, but we're still kind of that small town feel, and I think that really that feels accurate to where we are right now to be able to have a place that people can come to. And Lonnie, you have deep roots here. I'm last 25 years at least, and I really like the idea. And there's some practical things that I don't know quite how that works, but in general, I support.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to weigh in? Jill, what's your thoughts?
Well, I have seen them. I've seen them at the Great Wall in China. I've seen them in Paris. I've seen them in Eastern Europe. Yeah, the big problem I've seen in those is the maintenance of it, because it just gets kind of left until it gets really cluttered, and then eventually somebody comes and cuts a bunch of them off. But that's my only input. Other than that, I'm not feeling really strong one way or the other, just what everybody else decides.
Well, I'm kind of Googling images of it, and some of them look a little blighted looking. There's one that looks cool because they're done up in letters that say, I think it says love done in letters. So I think it can probably be doable, but I think it really needs kind of maybe a lot of work and sort of set kind of a policy to it, what it would have to look like, where the location would be. I can also see if it's very accessible to visitors. People might just add their own lock to it and not go and purchase a lock, if it is going to be for like a fundraiser. I can see that happening too. So, I mean, I think you'd want to keep the locks all the same, because I'm seeing some of these that are just all different types of colors and all different sizes and shapes, it looks like. And so I think there needs to be kind of a good plan for it. And so maybe it's best to see if staff can kind of mull it over more and maybe work with you, Lonnie, on it and kind of see some options and bring it back to the commission, or what would the commission like, to just give the nod yes or no, or
Aaron
what?
Aaron had his hand up earlier.
Okay. Aaron did?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Sharon, Lonnie even said that people could bring their own locks, even if it was at Monteith, right? So we shouldn't limit who can bring locks, who can't. I think having it at Timberland, it's a memorial park to begin with, so it just makes sense to have it there as well, for all the other reasons, right, around, the same thing. But I like the idea. I think it's a unique idea. It's something that the city can, there's a lot of people who grieve in the city, and we all grieve differently. So it's just another way for us to show our grief or to show our love for those that we've lost. So I like the idea. I just think it should be at Monteith. Sorry, not at Monteith, at Timberland. Because to me, that's the highest traffic, the best. I don't know. It just seems like it's the right spot for this. And it doesn't say that the carousel can't sell the locks as well, and just people would have to buy them at the carousel and go over to Timberland to put them on. Or, you can sell them at Art and Air Festival, or,
Have Parks and Rec sell them.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
so, Kim, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to just kind of work through the weeds of it?
Sure.
And come
So
back to us, or what?
I think that would be good. So on our end, I'll work with Rick and building maintenance and try to figure out where we think viable locations will be that won't impact irrigation and all sorts of fun things like that. And then Lonnie, if you wouldn't mind kind of putting, and you might already have this, a vision of what that would potentially look like and sizing and all that kind of good stuff. And then maybe we come back at our next meeting and I don't know if a month is enough time or if 2 months is needed to kind of maybe revisit it and see what people's thoughts are.
Yeah, I would like to see the design, honestly, if, how big it would look like, where it would look like, what it would look like.
I agree. Yeah.
I think 2 months would give you enough time, give the city enough time, plus give staff enough time, plus Lonnie enough time to kind of come up with that design.
So let's shoot for our April meeting. Does that work for you, Lonnie?
It does. That's perfect.
Excellent.
All right, we'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Safe
Yes.
travels.
And we're so sorry for
Alrighty.
the loss of your grandchild. So
Thank you so much. I
You
really
bet.
appreciate that.
Mhm.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Yep. I've never heard of that type of love for locks, but it's like, oh, it's interesting seeing that. So yeah. Okay. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. And this would be since October 2nd. So been a while since we met, and we're kind of getting through winter. So
Move to approve minutes as is.
I'll second.
all right. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Anybody see anything that needed to be corrected? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 And anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, scheduled business, discussion items, meeting schedule and format. Kim.
All right, with the new year comes new conversations. So just doing a little bit of housekeeping. Thank you all for continuing on this commission through 2025 and in this next year. Just want to take a moment to revisit to make sure that this time works well for everybody, and to see if we would like to keep the format virtual, or if there's any strong opinions about hybrid or being back in person. Just trying to do my due diligence and throw it out there to see what this group prefers.
Okay. And me preferably, I like it virtual, though, but it's up to everyone else.
I like it virtual, and I like the format, and the time works well as well.
Okay.
I like the time. I'd like to see hybrid though.
Okay.
I feel that way, and I miss the value of like interaction that happens spontaneously when you're in person. And then I know as well that when it's 20 minutes away from the meeting and I'm having to like hurry to get there, then I wish it was virtual. So
Yep.
I think my heart says I would love to have it in person, and I think my reality says that I'm pretty content with it being virtual.
Okay. Anyone else? Anna, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it to be virtual because I have 2 kids at home. and I work all day. So.
Yeah. My excuse is just my back. So it doesn't even feel good to drive. So, but yeah. Okay. And then let's see who didn't weigh in. Was it Jill? Didn't weigh in or?
Well, been on this board forever, seems. And I think we have a much better turnout if it's virtual. If people get tied up, they can still do it on, it's just much easier to attend. So I do like that. I love seeing everybody in person, but practically speaking, virtual is very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. And did you weigh in? Yeah.
I haven't yet. I will say that if it was hybrid, I'd probably show up in person, just if for no other reason than I think it would be a fun experience to get to like really feel like a part of the government. But I am perfectly content also with virtual, and the time also worked.
Okay. All right. And I think that was everyone. Kim, did you get enough direction there?
I think so. Before we kind of sum everything up, my next question is, commissions typically meet as frequently or as infrequently as they need to. And we've kind of found with this group about 7 meetings a year is what has been working due to the holidays and our flux of programs and park schedules. So this past year, I was kind of just going back through, and we met 5 times over the year, just because we've had some canceled due to like limited amount of agenda items or whatnot. And so I figured I would throw out there, just don't know if this is helpful or not, and I don't know if it would change the meeting format, but we're certainly can continue on with 7. We could go to every other month ish, depending on what the summer season looks like. Or part of me wanted to know, like, would quarterly be something that this group would appreciate, and have like a 90-minute, quarterly that we have more topics to discuss? Or do you all appreciate the opportunity to meet more frequently, even if it's a smaller amount of content?
Well, for me, I like the 7, in knowing that I know one of those we didn't have a quorum, we didn't have enough counselors available, right? So that's one thing. I think because I like the 7, because I know during the summertime when our programs really start kicking up, we actually get a lot of good information and direction, and after the season ends, there's a lot of good feedback as well. And having that quarterly, we'll miss out on that, and then the fact that this is also a tree commission, I think the fact of monthly within those 7 really allows us to get on top of, like this last year. I think when we created the tree ordinance, and adjusted it, I think that allowed us to do that in a timely enough manner to be able to present it to the council and have that passed. I think that's one of the things I think within this group, that with it being a tree commission as well as parks, the monthly makes more sense to me, and not having it quarterly, because this allows us to address tree issues sooner.
I agree. I think the 7 kind of worked well, and I believe there was one that we ended up, canceling from it. Mostly seeing kind of when Lonnie came forward, if a citizen has something they want to present to the commission, then they'd have to wait quarterly to do that. So I think the 7 to kind of put it in on the calendar, and then if it looks like there's not enough agenda items, then it can be canceled. But that kind of gives the opportunity in case a citizen needs to bring something forward to the commission. So,
Sharon?
Yeah.
I'd like to comment one thing with Aaron and the tree issues. Tree issues can always be sent directly to Rick or Jay. So they don't have to wait for a meeting or anything like that.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Right. I'm just talking about when we address the whole tree
Correct.
ordinance, and I'm sure we're going to have more of those, because it's, as we refine stuff, and that's all I'm talking about, is it helps us address those things as a commission quicker, rather than those actual tree issues, quote unquote, that goes to the, Rick. I mean, just like any park issue it goes to staff before it'll even come to us, right? I mean, preferably staff can handle it and we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. And Joyce, I think you had.
Yes.
Mhm.
And in agreement with all of this, and the one thing that I would say is that I prefer to have meetings on the calendar. And then as we did that one time, they can be canceled, but I really like hearing about things before they happen instead of afterwards. Um,
Mhm.
To me, it's more, I guess I just have to use the word interesting. It's more interesting to serve on this committee if it's to learn about what we're thinking about doing instead of getting reports about what has already happened. And so that frequency of more regular meetings works to serve that better for me. Thank you.
Sharon,
Uh-huh.
the way I look at it is it's far easier to cancel a meeting than to have to rush around and pull one together.
Yeah.
And we've done that and it's worked out pretty well. We just get, little Debbie sends us a note and says, you're off the hook for the month, and it works really well. The only thing
Yeah.
I would ask is whatever we decide, would someone please send us an official note with the date and the time so that I can be sure I put that on my calendar.
I agree.
So,
Yeah.
so it sounds like keeping our same format is going to work, which is awesome.
Mhm.
So, for October, sorry, no, let's go the other way. So February, we're in February. We'll see you in March. We'll see you in April, which is good for this time around because we're in the budget building process. So there is a lot going on in the next couple months. So February, March, April, June, and then we have a break for July, and then we'll see you in August. And then we're taking a break in September, and then we'll see you in October, and then a break for the holidays.
And we're
Sounds
going to
good.
continue to do that at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say 6
Mhm.
o'clock. And let's keep it virtual if that's all right, just because we have to, if it was a majority of folks who are going to be there in person, it would be easier. We found that if it's just one or two people, it can sometimes be a little bit clunky, and we additionally have to pay for a security guard. So I thank you all
Mhm.
very much for your patience and your flexibility on that. So I've got my marching orders. Debbie and I will take care of putting together the schedule.
Okay,
Sounds good.
great. Thank you, Kim. All right, next is the Habitat Garden. Nick.
Yeah, so this I just feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't try to use my platform here to say this. So I am very passionate about kind of native plants and habitat and the way that it kind of interacts with the whole ecosystem. And truthfully, in the parks, we actually do have a lot of native plants, and I really appreciate that. I was wondering though about and this might even be a better question for Jill, but trying to create one patch that is very a labeled habitat garden that kind of talks about the ways that maybe even demonstrates how people could put something like this in their own yard, and then try to give a demonstration of OSU Extension has all these really great top-down views of what it could look like, but it's also really hard to visualize what that actually looks like in 3D. And so I would be interested in trying to make that happen somewhere.
Well, there are things like that going on mostly, and Rick can talk to this too, out at Thornton Lake, North Albany natural area.
Yeah.
They We're planning on having an oak savanna. We're going to be planting oak trees. There's also a riparian garden there, and I believe Jay has a native planting area. So you're certainly welcome. We have 36 parks, trails, and natural areas to choose from. So you're certainly welcome to decide which one you want and propose it. But since we're already working on one, you might want to talk to Jay and find out what's going on. You'd want to talk to him mostly about watering and where you could put it so it could be cared for. The Albany Grand Prairie Garden Club is putting in a flower garden for Grand Prairie. And so, there's a lot going on around. And if you want to do that, first person to talk to would be Jay. We've already talked to him about what parks would lend themselves better than others. And you're always welcome to talk to me too about it. We could get together and with Jay and talk it over.
Great, thank you. That sounds great.
Okay, staff want to weigh in on that? Sounds great.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
let Rick take it.
Yeah, I was having
Mhm.
trouble unmuting. Yeah, you're talking Jay's language. That is the sort of vision that he has for a lot of different things. He's got little pieces around, but I would have a conversation with him, and I'll let him know that you want to have a conversation with him about what is happening and what can happen. There's a lot going on between the volunteer stuff and the stuff that Jay is doing, and we even have gotten some funding off and on for some different things. So there's quite a lot, but that's really the future where what you're talking about. And so we'll put you two together to talk, because I think you'll mesh really well on that.
Another important reason to put it out in North Albany is because we've got that homestead orchard, the antique orchard, and so we're already working on that. It's a big area. There's a lot of area to do it in, but a lot of us feel like you do about natives, and so you're talking to the right crowd. All you have to do is hook up with the right person.
And with this conversation, it makes me realize that we do have bits and pieces of this going on, but maybe we don't do a good enough job of sharing that with the public. And so that's something that I'll go back and chat with Cole, who does our marketing, to see if there could be highlights or something that we put on our website or on social media to kind of highlight it as instead of hidden gems like they are.
There's some things too, like, go ahead, Jill.
If you don't mind, I want to tell you a quick little story. We have a little thing called hidden places, or little small places. And they're neighbors who find little spots of land that isn't a park, and the park department doesn't have time to take care of it, and they kind of take it over. So on Old Salem Road, there is a little tiny area that has probably 12 inches by 12 inches of dirt, and it's only there for the road sign. So we had a guy who wanted to adopt that and plant flowers in it. And so I said, what would you like to name it? And so he's officially named it as Albany's smallest park.
That's excellent. Aaron, I see your hand up.
Yeah, there's I love the concept, by the way, Nick. I really like it because Lynn County has the Master Gardener space over at the Lynn County Fairgrounds, but that's being shrunk down, and the Master Gardeners are being kind of I don't know, weaseled out of it, or I wouldn't say weaseled, but like edged out of it. So it'd be nice to see something like this in a more accessible space, to where it's not not back in a corner, not that's actually looked at. And a lot of so people know what a native plant looks like, and what a native species really is, and something that's more of a educational type of garden in space that would be useful. And I really think that Lynn County Master Gardeners is a good source as well, that would probably help out if you need more access, more people. Once Jay and Rick and all sign off on it and we get a space, I really think there's some beneficial expansion out there within our community that'll help out.
I'd like to point out one more thing. It's easy to plant a garden. You get a bunch of people together, they go out and spend a few hours, and they plant a wonderful garden, and then they all go away. So if you want a garden that's going to thrive, you're going to have volunteers who can water it, feed it, and prune it when it's needed. So keep that in mind as you're working towards that.
Okay, yeah, the East Thornton Lake Natural Area sounds like a great location for it. So can't wait to be able to see that park start developing. That's been, about 15 years ago, I think, when we acquired it. So it's needed. It needs to get some little help there. But okay, anything else, Nick?
Yeah, I guess I'll just I'll say what Kim was saying about like marketing. I think that is also kind of in line with what I was saying or thinking about, because yeah, Albany does such a great job, and I'm not surprised that this panel of people here are all excited about it, but the layperson probably doesn't think about it too much or is aware of what that's like. And so to be able to show people how that can look, and then ideally it'd be like how you could even do this in your own backyard kind of thing. That native plants can be garden worthy. So yeah, I think that's in line. So I really appreciate everyone's input.
Oh no, we appreciate it. I think it sounds wonderful. So, but yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Nick. And next is tree planting. Rick.
Yeah, I was gonna just put this in the reports and updates on where we are with park maintenance. Right now, we're real heavy into the tree planting, pruning, that sort of thing. This time of year, it's the one time of year. It's the right time of year to do it, and it's a time of year when we actually have a little bit of time. This year, we're planting about 120 trees, I think, in 3 different areas. One is we have traditionally let developers pay us to plant trees. We're kind of going to get away from that because it's gotten so expensive, but that way we know they get a good start. So we're doing that. We're planting replacement trees. We did removals and all of that that needed to be done. The dry weather over the last few weeks really helped us because if you're grinding stumps and stuff, you want to do it in dry weather. So that was really good. So right now we're putting trees in the ground. And then the third and the most challenging of the tree planting is there are a bunch of trees downtown that for whatever reason didn't make it from the project. Well, it's been 6 or 7 years ago now. um, and we've got the trees. It's just working on those take a lot longer because there's a lot more around them to deal with, including power at every tree and stuff like that. So we're working on that. We're working on pruning both established trees and trees that are 4 or 5 years old, because we find that pruning the young trees helps them long term and gives a lot less problems when they're older. And then we're doing some park pruning. And the hardest thing about all of it is we don't have enough time to do what we'd like to do. We would love to be time and resources. We would love to be very proactive on our pruning, but we have to be more reactive. We get a list together and we go do that. We'd like to do sections of town. Used to be able to do that, but we just don't have the resources to do it anymore. So that's where we're at on tree planting right now.
Rick, is there anything that the diggers can do to help you with that?
I don't think so at this point. I think we've got it kind of handled.
Okay.
So
Thank you, though.
question on the downtown trees, are they going to be planted this spring? And you know what kind of trees they're going to be planting down there?
It's going to be the same kinds of trees for the most part, because they're replacements. And hopefully they'll be planted this month. They need to be planted this month or next month, or it just gets too late, and they just do better now. So
I mean,
we're working on that.
Yeah, because since it's getting drier, have you looking at getting more drought resistant trees, or I know there's limited space for downtown trees,
Right.
but
I think because they're replacements, and we did a lot of making sure we had the right trees down there to start with. They've had some problems, but a downtown streetscape tree, that is like a really tough life on a tree anyway, because you've
right.
got heat, you've got concrete, the trees can struggle. And we planted we've done pretty well overall, but there are some that are going to be replaced
Do
with
better.
similar or the same. They've had the same thing in Lebanon. Lebanon actually copied our tree plan. We let them, but they copied our tree plan when they did their downtown, and they've had some of the same, but they're working on that as well.
I know those ginkgo trees, like the ones in front of your building, they seem to do well. And I don't know.
The ginkgos there do well. It's those Dr. Seuss looking trees around the building. Those have done really well.
Right.
Where they're not, yeah, at this point, when we made the decision on trees, we didn't go with those, and I don't remember exactly why. I think it had to do with they do really well shape wise and look wise around a building like City Hall. Just along the street, they might get too tall and look a little funny.
Mhm.
But they've done well there. So anyway, that
Oh, and then
anything
the other
else?
one is, oh yeah, the Monteith trees that they're like 4 or 5 dead maples. Are they going to be replanted or?
Yeah, we're working on that. There were, I think there's 5 um, that mature trees that have died, and they're in areas where we didn't do a lot of landscaping or anything, so we didn't really mess with them. It's just sometimes the way it goes, and you're right, the weather's changed. It's been drier the last few years, um, but those are on the list to take care of.
Are you looking to put more native trees in there? That could be.
Well, they planted a lot of natives down below. Um, yeah, the perfect tree would be a native that also served some ornamental ability. Um, so how's that for a non-answer? But
Well, fir trees kind of do that. The Doug fir, and they're drought resistant. They would probably tolerate that area well. But
yeah, I hesitate to put. We could talk about that offline, Bill. But
yeah, so
yeah, I hesitate to put Douglas fir in there for some reasons. One is they're not really natives to start with, but anyway, that's a good grab Jay by the ear and look
all
at
right,
him.
maybe we could talk about it later. But yeah, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
appreciate it.
I think Doug fir is a state tree, though, isn't
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
it?
Yeah,
Okay. All
but
right.
it's not a native,
Oh,
so
it is native.
who knows?
Oh, it's very native.
Yeah, I always thought it was, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Learn
No,
something new every day. But Joyce?
Quick question, Rick. Can you just address or just update, I guess, the trees that are being cut along Waverly South?
By the Mennonite
Yeah,
building?
Yes, yeah.
Deerfield.
yeah. The street crew is working down there by Deerfield Park, and Jay knows the answers on that. I'm not sure. The trees were busting up the sidewalks, and we've had that problem down that way before, so we've had to replant. Um, and I'm sure that's what he's doing down there now. I haven't been involved in that, but it's the same. You'll see there's a lot of younger trees down there because the older ones have busted up sidewalks, and we have to watch infrastructure because it's a safety thing. People trip and that. But this is the one time of year that streets crew has the opportunity to do a few things like that as well, and so they're working on that one and going to replace the sidewalks. I know that, and I'm assuming that Jay has trees to put in there.
Okay, any other questions of Rick? So, all right. Thank you, Rick. Okay, action items. And this is our annual chair, vice chair elections. And I'm open to someone else being chair. And I think Anna is vice chair. And what would you folks like to do? It's very easy. Anybody can do it.
I'd like to nominate you.
Oh, goodness. How about you, Jill?
Oh, no, I'm too busy with all the volunteer stuff.
Okay. I am too.
Touche.
Yeah. Okay, well, Jill nominated me, and then what about for Any other nominations? Okay, folks, any other nominations? Okay, and then how about, let's see, well, let's take action on that. All those in favor of keeping the same for chair, as long as you promise that next year someone else will step up to the plate. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, and then vice chair, Anna. So are you wanting to stay again?
I don't really care. I mean, I don't have to do much as vice chair. You always do such a good job, so I haven't had to do anything.
What I
If
should
anybody
do
else wants
is
it,
say that I have laryngitis attend, then you'll have to.
yeah. Well, it's not that easy to run a meeting. You do it very well. So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, so then I'll nominate Anna. So is there any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor of Anna for vice chair, say aye.
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 And anyone opposed? Okay, well, you guys are stuck with the same slate here again, but make sure you think about for next year, because it's really, it's very easy. Okay.
So Sharon, just to clarify, was those seven votes each? Did you guys each vote Anna and Sharon for yourselves? Or did
Well,
you abstain?
well, we'll just vote. Yeah. Go along with it. Make it easier for you. You won't have to type in abstain.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Makes your minutes easier. Okay. Reports and updates. And well, thank you folks also for having confidence in us. Yeah. Reports and updates, capital projects update, Kim.
All right. So on this end, we just really have one development, but it's a big one. Deerfield, we're currently out to bid. We had, I apologize, Rick, if you were going to cover this. We had our pre-bid meeting out on site yesterday, and I think we had over 10 contractors out there. So hopefully that means we're going to have some really competitive pricing, which thrilled with. So it's open for another week and a half. And then we'll kind of go from there. Next Monday, I'm taking a cooperative purchasing agreement to City Council to allow us to buy the playground equipment, the playground surfacing, as a part of a co-op so that we're able to get it at a better price without, yeah, they're lovely. So the conversation that's going to come up there is we're going to recommend that it be the not AstroTurf, the Forever Lawn playground grass, like it's going to be at Lehigh, so it's a fully accessible playground. That's part of the reason why we got a $485,000 grant from the state. Another option is the Pour in Place, which is like down at Monteith, which is also great, but I don't think it's a better fit for this park between the two due to cost, temperatures, maintenance that's required out of house. We can't do the maintenance in house, some environmental not concerns, but some things that some folks might be a little bit more nervous about. They're totally safe. So for that reason, I'm going to recommend the Forever Lawn, and the hope is that council will go ahead and approve that. And then on Thursday, I'll be able to work with Rick and Becky and place an order for our playground stuff. That'll take about 3 months to get here. So
Exciting.
yeah, very exciting.
Yep, that is.
I apologize. I realize I do have one more thing. So our CIP that you guys see in front of us is due to our finances, we have very few things that actually are funded, but we have very long lists of unfunded projects. And in the past, we haven't really included that super long list in the city document, just because maybe it seemed it's overwhelming. And so we're not going to do that anymore. So if we don't show everybody what our needs are, they're not going to be able to take a look at it and help us figure out what to do to address them. So the next time around in our next budget cycle, you're going to see one item on our funded list, which will be Deerfield, because that is what we have enough money in order to complete in the next budget cycle. But then you're going to get to see the very long list of other projects that have either been identified as part of our master plan or as our partnership agreements with the pool for our CIP, or just emergent needs, you know, an HVAC system at RCC, you know, additional lighting in certain areas. So that'll be something that we can chat through, but I just wanted to let you know this format will look a little bit different in the new budget season. And we look forward to having conversations and answering questions.
Okay, yeah, looking forward to seeing that list.
Hey, Kim, will that list be
Yeah.
prioritized, or will it just be how do you plan on?
Sure. So we have some internal prioritizations of like 1, 2, and 3. I know, very fancy. One being things that if that could happen in the next 2 to 3 years, it would be great. Medium term being 3 to 10 years, and then, you know, 3 being things that are very aspirational. For example, on our master plan, we have quite a few bridges that go over the Willamette that are on there. Those are going to be priority numbers 3s. For example, Timberland soccer fields, they're going to remain a priority number 1. It's just a matter of figuring out the funding. We don't necessarily have all of our details yet back from finance. So we're being really, and just with general uncertainty with grant funding and just a lot of things, we're going to be pretty conservative when it comes to what we're planning for. I should have mentioned that our Deerfield grant is through the state, is through lottery funds, as we've had quite a few folks ask if that one is going to be potentially in jeopardy. That one is, even though we don't have cash in hand and it's a reimbursement, that one's through lottery funds. So they're continuing on. So that's kind of how we have it on our end. With that said, like anything, if we have a sponsor or a donor or something happen that a grant opportunity opens up that maybe puts something on the list more in arm's reach, we are certainly going to be, you know, we're not going to be like, oh, that's a priority too, that can't happen. No, if there's somebody with money and we have the ability to, we're gonna work to capitalize that. I hope that helps answer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to, you know, just make sure that when we show it to people out there that say, hey, this is our priority, or this is our list of wants, it's, you know, there's a list of saying, hey, we want, this is our first priority versus, you know, something that's a nice to have, you know, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So, and we'll have those priorities spelled out once. They're in the process of entering it into their system now, they being Public Works who manages it. And so my hope is that probably around the April meeting, I don't think we'll have it in March, but at the April meeting, we'll be able to walk through and talk budget a little bit more with you all and hopefully get a recommendation to go to council.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Do you, in the unfunded list, Kim, do you have for Waverly Lake any more of the aerator fountains with the lights in it? In the plan?
Yes. So, well, kind of, I guess I should say. So, as part of the budgeting process, we have some things that we are trying to incorporate into our ongoing budget. And with just the nature of the lake, we're trying to see if maybe we can, now that we've taken big chunks out and we've already invested a fair amount into it, seeing if we can include that in our general operating. So that's something that we're hoping we'll be able to just go in as a yearly, you know, maintenance cost. And if not, then we'll have to back that out and add it back into the CIP as, you know, when we have to come back in and do, you know, more large scale work.
So what did the first one cost? The one that we have, what did that
Sure.
cost? Just the fountain part. Yeah.
So I know total, I think the project was around $80,000 between the harvesting and the fountain. I think we're probably between 30 and 40 for the fountain, lights, and aerators.
Okay, yeah. So with the tourism advisory, you know, committee, we have the collaborative tourism promotion funds, and we kind of struggled with some of the applicants we have, and I sat there and thought, you know, I'd sure like to see another one of those fountains. So think about it.
We already
when
have,
it comes to next, for July's funding round, and think about putting in a pitch for that.
No, it is, we
Yeah.
internally in our office, Little can attest to this, as we'll be like, add it to the list. So we
Yep.
might be very, I'll say it, greedy, and put
Yeah.
in multiple applications for the money in the next cycle once we kind of get a
Good.
feel for what our actual budget's going to look like.
Oh, good, good. Yeah. So even for more concert money, so would have been nice too. Well, okay, anything else, Kim, on capital projects? All right.
Is there an update on Lehigh? You'd mentioned it.
I was holding that one. Sorry about that. So, Rick, do you want to give the latest and greatest as to
Sure. Well,
that?
it's the latest and not that greatest. If you look at the long term over the life of the playground, this is just a little blip. But if you look at where we'd like to be, we ran out of weather. And we thought we had this little bit of dry weather the last few weeks. We thought, maybe we'll get in there. No, an inch under the surface, it was still really wet. So we've got everything sitting in our yard. We've got the play structures are up. There's a lot of finish work and stuff to do, but the big thing is we've got to be able to excavate, um, excavate for the turf and get that done. And we just can't do it. It's too wet right now. So I try to think long term. Long term, this is great. It's this summer, things are going to be wonderful. But right now, it's not. So, and that we got a bit of a late start on it. We lost about a month, and if we'd have had that month, we'd have been just fine and dandy. But excuse me, the hard part's done.
Mhm.
And Rick's crew has been great. It's kind of a test to give a little backstory on this. So we got federal dollars to put in this grant. We got in this playground, we got $155,000 to go towards it. And with that, anytime you have federal dollars, you have to use prevailing wages, which are more expensive. And in order for us to be able to do the project, we needed to do the labor, a majority of it in-house, because if not, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. And so in taking a look at our amazing staff, we said, okay, summer is gangbusters. Theoretically in August, things, start to dry out a little bit and we'd have some dedicated time. Well, when you've only got a handful of people on your entire crew, if things happen, people get sick, equipment breaks down, we're strapped. And so they were working as hard as they could with the resources they had. But like Rick said, we just ran out of weather. So it's us trying to be resourceful and use the resources that we have. But like for Deerfield, it's not federal. Well, we're like, we don't have the bodies for this project. We're paying the people to do it. So it's one of those, and the grant money, $500,000 helps to go towards that. So it's just kind of the balance of what we have. So I know I'm excited too. I can't wait for it to be open. We got the cutest little trash can that's in the shape of a beaver. So we're really trying hard to make it a fun experience for folks of all ages.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Kim? Nope. Okay. And then program updates.
Rick, you want
Do
to
you want me
go
to go
first?
first, Kim?
Yeah,
I
go for
can,
it.
sure. Yeah, and I think you'll see that Lehigh will go together pretty quickly once it dries out because there's not that much left to do. We are, like I said, we're working real heavy on trees, tree planting, tree care, those sorts of things right now. We're planning for the spring and summer thing already. Things get going crazy about March when stuff starts to grow. We are building a relationship with the Oregon Youth Authority. They have a crew of young women who are in their facility that are in a jobs program doing some trail work for us last year and then again this year. So that's a really nice piece. We're doing a lot of training this year. We're typically on a project like Deerfield, I would be the lead on it. And then others would back me up. I'm the backup this time. Becky Hunter is learning to do all of that kind of stuff. So it's a year that we're going to do a lot of that. and it's building the city as a whole. I think has 65 people that are eligible for retirement right now, which is a huge hunk. And so we have to do some planning ahead. And I'm planning on leaving the end of February next year. So we're just trying to be smart about it and do what so we're well prepared. Other things we're working on are just general things like transient camp cleanups. We've been doing some of that this week. Just keeping up with everything in the parks. So I think that's all I've got to report, I think.
You got a
Rick?
full plate.
Rick, can I ask a question about the homeless camps?
Sure.
How often do you generally do that, and how many are you able to get taken care of?
A lot of it depends on the sheriff's work crew, how many we have. They've had I don't know if there's not enough crime anymore or what, but they've not had the level of of workers that they once had. So we've struggled a little bit with that. But if we get going, the perfect is we have some dry weather, even in the winter, some dry weather and some time. And in a lot of respects, we just move them around. There's not a
Yeah.
lot we can do to solve the problem. But we do what we can when we can. We're very nervous about having others than us, because I know that the volunteers have wanted to help on camps, but we'll run into, for instance, one just recently ran into 100 needles in an area half the size of a living room. So you just don't know what you're gonna run into. It's something that we never, when I started this, we rarely had these issues, and now they're a major part of what we do, which is part of why we're kind of strapped on people.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions of Rick? Okay. Thank you, Rick. And Kim?
Awesome. So Rose wasn't able to be here tonight, so I've got some stuff from her. Our spring activate guide is coming out in early March. We've got a lot of new programs, especially growing in the adult area. And so please check it out, spread the word, sign up. We love that. Still working on Maple Lawn. So it's been a transition. So when a building is 100 years old and has been used by a preschool for 40 years, it needs some new flooring in order to be a recreation center. It needs new lighting fixtures. It needs new bathrooms. So needs new paint. So building maintenance and some contractors have been helping us out with that. Our first programs that'll be back in that building as kind of a new fresh space will be spring break camp. So we are just a couple weeks away. And then from there, it'll be used more and more for either youth or adult programming, just a matter of how we can what's going to be a good fit for that space, because it's a whole house, but it's an older layout, and so your rooms are very small, and so it kind of makes it a challenge to run sometimes programs that you need enough people in order to generate revenue and make it worthwhile for a contractor. So y'all don't necessarily want to hear about all of that, but that's kind of what's going into Maple Lawn. We often have people ask if they can buy it from us, and I talked to a very nice person today, as they're interested and they see it being open. Fun fact, it was deeded to us in perpetuity. So it will be with us forever. It's just a matter of us figuring out how to make that work. Working on planning summer activities. We've got one performer committed for the Rhythms, but the contract hasn't been signed yet. No names to be released. Things are seriously expensive. So our crew, though, we are thrifty and frugal and all those other adjectives to describe people who try to ferret out the best deal that they can. So using feedback that we got from the community survey that went out at the fall, we got about 500 responses back. So and a lot of folks gave names. Some of those names cost $750,000 to $2 million for a 90-minute set. But you know what? We're looking for our alternative that can match that same energy. So, but more information will probably come out late spring. And so with this, I do have some sad news, is kind of taking a look at our format, taking a look at our budget. Summer Sounds has been a program that's happened on Monday nights for decades. Prior to that, it was Mondays at Monteith, and it focuses more on local and regional acts. The past couple of years, we've seen attendance and sponsorship go down on both of them. And even this year, moving into the beautiful new park, it was don't get me wrong, they were beautiful events. My family was out there. My kid was running around the splash pad. There is a love of local music, but they're very costly to put on at the caliber that we put them on. And so trying to figure out how we can serve more than a couple hundred to a couple thousand folks with that amount of money. We're going to take a step back this year, and figure out maybe how to do something mobile in the future to move things around to community parks so that there are more people in our, in Albany that's able to walk or ride their bike, and see some sort of cultural event take place in their park. It's sad because we all love the program. I mean, we love doing events. That's what Albany is known for. But just times are changing and resources are even more constricted. And with River Rhythms being as popular it is and 41 years in the making in Northwest Art and Air, we kind of got to protect the core. So, so that's my sad news to present on that end.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So
go
Kim,
ahead.
though, I mean, Summer Sounds, Mondays at Monteith usually would just pick up a low amount of folks, usually it'd be kind of like the band, like the German bands and stuff like that. But when it turned to Summer Sounds and, when Rose kind of really got that going, her and Lynn, we had some nights that were even bigger than River Rhythms nights. So we had, it was great turnout, but the last few years, I've just noticed the attendance has been way down. It does seems like I remember pretty good attendance out at Timberland, though.
Yeah.
The one year we were there on Monday nights, but I think it was like a tribute band, which is a big draw too. But are the tribute bands getting up there in price then for what they're doing?
They are. Well, yes. So one that we had looked at a couple of years ago, but wasn't a good fit, had gone up by like $15,000-$20,000. So it's a competitive market out there, and the music industry and music festivals are kind of feeling it all over. But I mean, we take a lot of pride in those events, and so we're doing everything that we can to stretch every dollar. Our resource development coordinator Alicia's out there trying to get as much sponsorship as she can so that we can continue to keep the level as high as we can. Long term, I think there might be additional conversations about if we're not able to sustain national acts, what that could potentially look like. But I think all of us who are currently working on it are trying to hold that conversation out as long as possible. So,
sad.
It's industry wide. I mean, if you look out, there are many music festivals that have shut down because they simply can't afford. Ticket sales are down, sponsorship is too stretched, and I mean, people's tastes have also changed a little bit. And we think, in all honesty, COVID may have contributed to that, as not everybody's interested in getting back out. They have found other ways to spend their time and their money and their energy. And but we're so thankful for those who do continue to come out, because it's our favorite. Summer is crazy. Rick, Debbie, everybody on our team is stressed and running to the max, but we wouldn't be in these jobs if we didn't have summer. Like, that's what makes it exciting.
Right.
So,
well, so do you think we'll, end up, before we start getting the attendance so low with that and River Rhythms, that maybe we have to start switching to, charging people to be able to attend?
And that's certainly something that's been
there's
chatted
some
about.
venues, I know, like the Bend one, man, they're like $100 a piece. People, and they pack it in there. People, show up. So,
and it is something for us to talk about. It would be a totally different model, because a lot of our sponsors are putting their money out there because it is free and open to the public. So if we start
Mhm.
charging, there are potentially some folks who, you know, that wouldn't be a fit anymore. Another thing is, which I didn't know until I started working here, is that performers charge based on what your gate is. So if it's a free
Mhm.
event, you get a better fee, and if you
Right.
charge, they take a larger portion of it. So
Right. Mhm.
I think that's something that, you know, in the future of River Rhythms will need to be discussed.
Yeah.
But 2025 isn't going to be the year.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Oh, well, thank you for all you do and
yeah.
trying to keep them afloat.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's a labor of love. So but we've let sponsors know that information,
Mhm.
but we haven't really made it public. So we wanted to let you all know kind of first,
Mhm.
and you'll probably see some messaging come out later. And with that,
Yeah.
that kind of
Thank
segues
you.
into my next is we've chatted about it a little bit, but budget, and what that kind of looks like. So at our next meeting, we had 2 new city council members come on, and typically when we have new city council members, each of the departments kind of gives a department overview, just kind of telling everybody what we do, what our resources are, our strengths, our weaknesses, and general threats. So that'll be a presentation that I'll do next month. That'll probably take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, just for you guys to get an overview at what the health of the department looks like. At that time, we may also have some additional information from finance regarding our budget. We know we have to have our numbers in by March 15th, 14th. We're still waiting on some additional costing, you know, on revenue side from them. So you'll get a little bit more information in March about our budget, and potentially if we have to make any hard decisions, or if, you know, let's be optimistic. There's money out there that we can do more great things that we didn't think that we were going to be able to. That'll be the March meeting. And then April is probably when we'll have the full budget review that will ask, you know, let you guys know where we are, why we made the choices that we did, see if you have any recommendations or questions, and then hopefully from there have a recommendation to go to council for approval. So
Sounds good.
that's it on our side.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've got a really good council too, this year. So they'll be looks like they'll be very supportive. So, which is great. So excellent. Is that it then, Kim?
That's all I have.
Okay. Business from the commission. Let's see. I'll start from the top. Nick, did you have anything? Nope. Okay, Joyce? Nope. And Jill?
Nope.
Okay, Aaron?
No.
And Bill?
No.
Okay, and Anna?
Nope.
Okay, all right. So, and I didn't either. So I think with that, it looks like our next meeting date would be March 5th, virtual. And does staff have anything else with that? Okay, all right. It was great seeing everybody online, except some of them are just a little white 2 dots. But yeah, but no, great hearing everybody. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. And with that, we're adjourned.
Have a great one.
All right,
Here.
see you.
Okay, bye-bye.